Joining us live from Boston, he writes on the English page of the Martial, but a guy that is no stranger here in Toronto and a newspaper that's been around for many, many years, from the Globe and Mail, Paul Attfield. Paul, welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Anthony. How are you?
I'm very good. Paul, let's start out on a positive note, and then we'll finish off on a somber note that you and I discussed before coming on. Let's talk about this England squad. I got to tell you, I was surprised, pleasantly surprised, because you and I have heard this for many, many years, World Cup, Euros, this is the year for England, this is the year for England. But I actually believed, until they collapsed with that last goal to tie it up, that this looked like an exciting, young, hungry England squad, and they could do some damage. Talk about it.
Well, I mean, you're right. It's refreshing. It's a little different. There's youth there, which is great. I'm not quite sure the balance is quite right. I'm not sure the tactics, the formation is quite right as it stands. But I certainly think within the squad there is enough ability, there is enough versatility to put a winning team on the field. But I think Roy Hodgson, the coach, has been playing around with things through the friendlies against Portugal, against Australia. He hasn't quite come up with the winning formula, but I think the blueprint is there. It just needs to tweak it a little bit.
But I saw a synergy that I haven't seen from an England squad in years past. There's something different that I can't pinpoint just yet, Paul. You could see the harmony, just as we saw in Italy today. You could see that these guys are getting along with one another. You could see that even Rooney and some of the vets are letting some of the young guys take responsibilities. We saw that beautiful set piece by one of the young guys, and I think that's good moving forward for the England supporters.
I agree, although when you talk about set pieces, the one thing for me, as it's been in the press in England, is, why is Harry Kane taking corners? It makes no sense to me whatsoever. I mean, it is a complete waste of having, one of your biggest guys, your lone striker, as it were, out there swinging in corners. I mean, he's not Thierry Henry, who obviously took corners with much distinction for Arsenal for many years. So I just don't know why someone like Wayne Rooney can't take corners, or Dyer, who clearly shows he could strike a set piece.
And here's a guy that I believe, before it's all said and done in this tourney, Wayne Rooney. He's taken a lot of shots when playing for England, but I believe this time he's going to be a veteran, not only on the field but off the field. And I believe this time he could make a big difference. Maybe not on the field each and every time he's out there, but I believe in the locker room he could make a difference, because he's been to so many competitions. There's been so many failures for England that I think he's learned a lot from that, Paul. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think you're probably right, because I never get the impression within that dressing room, even though he's captain, even though, like you said, he's been there and done that, he's won the Champions League, etc., etc. I don't think he's one of these guys that wants to impose himself, that I'm this and I've done that, and I'm, I think he very much, he is I've never met the guy, but he seems like a guy that it would be a good team guy, would be supportive of the young guys. He broke into the Premier League. He scored for Everton against Arsenal back when he was 16 years old and was the youngest Premier League goal scorer at that time. So he's been on the map for a long time now. But yeah, I really believe he knows what the spotlight's all about and what his role is as captain. And whether he's being asked to play in midfield as he is right now, he seems to be going about that. He doesn't sulk. He makes the most of it and tries to help the team win.
Paul, let's talk about the dark spot early on in this tourney. I wanted to have you on to discuss this, because you come from a soccer-crazed nation back home in Europe. I'm sure you've experienced this. You might have seen a lot of it in your youth and even growing up. And we're not used to it here in North America. We're not used to it, period. And what we saw with the English and Russian supporters, they're both at fault for my money. I don't care who started it or who finished it. They're both at fault. And then when you're reading stories, my son and I are on Twitter, and we're seeing it through the BBC, I believe, saying an English supporter was thrown in front of a train. I shake my head and I say to myself, are you kidding me? With what's going on in the world today with Orlando and the tragedy there, and you guys are doing this? How can we stop this, Paul? Is it to kick them both out and say that's it?
I don't think that helps anything. I mean, I really, from what I've read, it seems that England had taken a really hardline stance in the previous World Cup, or the previous two World Cups, and the previous Euro, where they confiscate passports of people that have had problems in the past to stop them traveling, and that was in the thousands, in the 3,500, 2,500. This time it was in the hundreds, so they've obviously relaxed a little bit. I don't know for sure that, some of these troublemakers in the past are the ones that have traveled this time. But I thought they made steps, you go back to 98, again in Marseille where England played, there were the same scenes. It's a horrible black mark on the game. People are there taking vacation, taking time off work to go and support their country. And I don't know. It's an all-round thing where I don't necessarily. I mean, France is in a really heightened state of awareness because of what happened last year.
And that's what bothers me, Paul, is that you and I have seen what's happened in France, and my heart goes out to the people in France, and we need to support them. We need to stand side by side. It doesn't matter if you support Italy, England, Russia, whoever. We have to support this.
I agree. What I was saying is there is an all-round, they're on tenterhooks. The fans are obviously fans of fans. It doesn't mean, they shouldn't be doing what they're doing, but it is a minority. This isn't most people are there to have a good time, to support the game we all love, see a great spectacle of football, and that's what this is. Some of the talent on display is breathtaking, and yet there has to be a better solution than the way it's going down right now.
Here's a solution I'm going to throw out. Maybe it's worthless. You can throw it out and laugh at me. But I was thinking of this when I was watching this all unfold on the weekend, and I said to myself, you know what? Maybe Wayne Rooney, Joe Hart, maybe a couple of the Russian well-known players should grab a mic and should talk to these fans even before the kickoff in their native tongue and say, look, it's just a game. Support, scream, yell, cheer, but do not have violence away from the pitch, in the stadium. Do not, because we're here to respect the country of France and people are watching worldwide. Maybe they have to do something like that. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm wrong, Paul.
I don't think you're wrong at all, actually. I think that may do something, and maybe threatening to pull these teams out of the tournament would drive the players into action to do something like that. Because ultimately, they're there because they're professionals. They've trained, and they've played football all their careers to get to a stage like this, to get the European Championship, to get to the World Cup. They don't want it ruined by things that happen out of their control off the field. I would support that. There's nothing to be lost if a Wayne Rooney, if any captain or leading player of one of the nations that's involved in this got on the mic, went to the press, and said, "Hey, this isn't us. Why are we doing this? We're here to take part. We're here to compete. We're here to maybe hopefully win. Don't ruin this. Don't take away from what we're trying to do as a nation."
Paul, lastly, in 30 seconds or less, I want to get your thoughts. It's going to be a special 2016 once the Premiership kicks off. You saw Conte today do what he did with Italy, so well organized, focused, and the team kept its shape. Mourinho, we could go on. It's going to be an all-star of coaches. It's going to be an all-star of lineups. It's going to be a chess match. It's going to be an unbelievable a season to watch from beginning to end from different teams. I'm salivating. I've never been a huge supporter of watching it, but I am going to be for sure this year. Talk about it.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. With Conte, with Guardiola, with Mourinho at Manchester United. Arsene Wenger still there at Arsenal. Ranieri obviously will embrace first time he's ever won a league championship in his career, defending it with Leicester. It's going to be a very interesting off-season, to say nothing of the season, because once this Euro is over, we'll start to see the checkbooks come out. We'll start to see huge amounts of money changing hands, I'm sure. I'm sure Mourinho's got a short list of players he wants. I'm sure Guardiola has told Manchester City, I need this, X, Y, and Z. I'm sure Antonio Conte and Roman Abramovich, the owner, is not short of cash. So, you're going to see some, I really believe you see some monstrous sums of money being thrown at some of the best players in the world to come and play for these guys, because ultimately, as good as they all are as coaches, they know that the talent on the field is what wins the game at the end of the day, and that's what's going to make next season an unforgettable extravaganza.
And the supporters of those clubs, like you mentioned, Chelsea, Man City, Man U, on and on, They deserve it. Beautiful facilities, well-run organizations, great supporters. It's good for the economy. It's good for everything that we love about the game, not this garbage that we saw the Russian and English supporters display. And let's hope we don't see it at all anymore, because I tell you, Paul, I really believe England, it's hard for me to say this, Paul, I believe England has a serious chance to get to the Final Four and maybe even to the final win it all. From what I saw, I really believe that. So let's hope so. Paul, as we let you go, where can people follow you on Twitter, and what are you writing right now at the Globe and Mail?
Follow me at Paul Attfield on Twitter, and let's really enjoy this tournament. I mean, it's gonna. I mean, it's the last European Championship of the format it's in right now. It should be a great occasion for football. Let's hope that the rubbish stops, and let's hope the emphasis goes back onto the field of play.